On this day that Michael Cohen reported to federal prison, Democrats are ramping up their attacks against William Barr. The House Judiciary Committee is set to vote Wednesday to hold Barr in contempt if he doesn't turn over his unredacted version of the Mueller report and underlying materials, which go by the millions, by the way. Democrats continue to go after Barr and are even threatening to throw him in jail.
We had just recently a United States Attorney General who lied to Congress and lied to you, and is clearly more interested in representing the president than the American people.
I believe right now he should resign. I think everything should be on the table.
You have to have him sit for a hearing, and I think you have to have him locked up unless he agrees to participate and come to the hearing.
Do you think he flossed after having that chicken, then hopped on Anderson Cooper? Democrats are pushing Robert Mueller to testify May 15th. No final date has been set, but he'll likely be there. President Trump slamming the move, saying Democrats need a do-over, don't need a do-over after the Mueller report found no collusion. So let's begin with William Barr. He wrote a letter, and Jesse, and in the letter he said, look, not only am I not, I appreciate the offer to come back, and I'll come back if you go by the old rules, and you want to see an unredacted version. You haven't even showed up for the less redacted version I have waiting in my office. Why should I redact everything? You know I'm not allowed to, and they cite a code in the Constitution.
Yeah, Nadler has access to the unredacted version, but he hasn't walked his little butt over there to take a look at it.
Right.
So the reason he wants to see the grand jury information is so he can leak it and control the news cycle for the next 2 years. If Mueller was this big white knight that everybody loved, why are the Democrats all of a sudden trying to fact check his reporting? Why don't they just believe what he says? Because this is not what it's about. It's not oversight, it's overkill. This is an unprecedented scope of information that they're trying to gather. Terabytes of information. I don't even know what a terabyte is, but it's a lot.
It sounds like you did, though.
For receipts, for credit card transactions.
Right.
There's no way that they have any legitimate legislative purpose by handing it over.
They don't even want to ask their own questions, let alone go through millions of documents to do their own Mueller report. It makes me wonder, Kennedy, the redaction argument is almost gone because only 6 to 8% of the entire document's been redacted.
And Jesse's right. And there are people who have access to this information and the unredacted report. And they're rational human beings, and this is their job. And they can absolutely go spend their time doing this. And what they really want is to sit down with Robert Mueller. If these are the questions that they have. And let's not forget, Mueller also went through the redaction process with Bill Barr. And if they have an issue with what was redacted and the percentage compared to the length of the full report, that's the person that they need to take this up with. And because of that, and they also have a tentative date set with Bob Mueller to go before these judiciary committees. Until that happens, they need to stop politicizing this, because it is an ultimate distraction. And you're looking at a Democrat Party that really has the opportunity now, with so many eyeballs and so many people politically engaged on every side, not just Republican and Democrats, but I'm talking about independents. You have such a great opportunity now to tell people what your ideas are and how you're going to make life better. And with these distractions, you make their life annoying. And when people are annoyed, they don't want to help you, and they don't want to vote for you.
Are you annoyed, Juan?
I'm annoyed with you guys. Because I just listen, I think, man, these Democrats, look what they've done to Kennedy and Jesse. I mean, if this was Benghazi, if this was Fast and Furious, and you guys are making the same case, why is Congress requesting all of this extraneous material? What do you say, gigabytes, terabytes?
Well,
they want so much. This is what happened to Obama.
You know they're not going to look at the underlying documents.
Exactly.
Don't you dare compare Benghazi to William Barr.
Who died in Russia collusion?
Oh, gosh.
Man.
Let me just,
who died?
How about our country lost, huh? Our country lost big time.
Yeah, because of the Democratic hoax.
I just don't understand why you don't say, you know what, Congress is an equal branch of government. They have every right to exercise oversight of the executives. They're making legitimate claims. Normally,
these aren't legitimate.
Normally, it doesn't matter. It's not your judgment to make.
It's
the Constitution says they have this right. And so normally, normally what you would hear from a Justice Department would be, let's negotiate, Congress. I'll give you this much, I'll give you that much. Certain people can see it. What Bill Barr and Trump are doing for political reasons is trying to stiff the whole Constitution.
They offered to show up on Emily. You're the legal scholar. So, is that what they're trying to do?
They are trying to distract us from the real ball, which is the fact that everyone is terrified of what the Inspector General report will undoubtedly prove, which is that our intelligence agencies used unfounded legal reasons to surveil private citizens. You say it's oversight, but it's not. It's an attack on our Attorney General, which I find disgraceful. You bring it fast and furious. Remember, Nadler voted against holding Eric Holder there in contempt during that time. There's no way to reconcile this when the messaging is clear that Democrats are panicking in total fear on the Hill because they are refusing to see the unredacted version or admit because they can't publish it because they can't use it as a weapon.
Okay, can I just add very quickly to what Juan said? So, Juan, if Republicans went too far on Benghazi and other investigations and wasted so much time, that was a lose for them because they ended up losing the House. So if that's the case, then maybe Democrats should pay heed and to the warning that you're offering right now that they shouldn't overextend themselves.
Well, we'll see what happens
Here's where I
Wednesday.
agree with you. Here's where I absolutely agree with you. I think we need to decrease the amount of power concentrated in the executive branch.
Well, sure. But I just think we'll see what happens Wednesday because the Republicans, as you recall, in fact, held Eric Holder in contempt. The first
what
Attorney
happened?
General
Nothing happened. Nothing happened. He got censored.
Let me just tell you, Eric Holder,
I
can testify, said to me, it is absolutely shameful that he was held in contempt. He feels personally that he was hurt by it.
He doesn't sound like it. I mean, okay.
You mean the president's wingman? Is that
That's good.
It's not like you and me.
So also tonight, the House Judiciary Committee is hoping to hear from Special Counsel Robert Mueller a week from this Wednesday. The president tweeting that this is just a political move, he says, by Democrats. Quote, why would the Democrats in Congress now need Robert Mueller to testify? Are they looking for a redo because they hated seeing the strong no collusion conclusion, he writes? There was no crime except on the other side, incredibly not covered in the report. We know that there are investigations into that. That's a separate aside. And now obstruction, he wrote. Bob Mueller should not testify. No redos for the Dems. Here now, Trey Gowdy, former House Oversight Committee chairman, and Ken Starr, former independent counsel and author of Contempt, a memoir of the Clinton investigation. Both are Fox News contributors. Gentlemen, great to have both of you here tonight. Thank you very much for being here. So just on that question first, I guess, let me go to you first, Trey Gowdy. Do you think that Robert Mueller should testify?
Well, it's going to be hard. He's not going to have a lot to say because DOJ policy does not allow him to discuss derogatory information against an uncharged person. So what the Democrats want is for him to painstakingly go through all of the information he had that led to obstruction or that they think leads to obstruction. And the conclusion is he didn't indict him. So DOJ policy doesn't allow that conversation. I'm not sure what else he can talk about.
So you're saying the unredacted information would be the one thing that they don't already have because everything else is already in the report, correct? So there's not much he could add to that.
Well, even the unredacted information, I mean, some of it by law he cannot discuss. Right. Lots of it by law he cannot discuss. But even what is unredacted, the Department of Justice policy is you cannot discuss derogatory information against someone you did not indict. The department doesn't speak in press conferences and reports. They use indictment. So either indict or shut up. And he didn't indict.
I think one of the things that they would probably love to ask Robert Mueller, Ken Starr, is, about his decision not to indict and whether or not it was completely separate from the issue of whether or not you can indict a sitting president. I mean, this to me is where, because we heard from the Attorney General, Bill Barr, and he said there were several instances where several people were in the room, and Robert Mueller said, clearly, according to Bill Barr's testimony, I'm not worried about the OLC decision, the Office of Legal Counsel decision. I put that aside, and I decided whether or not we could indict and decided not to indict. If he has a different story than that in this testimony, that will be news.
Oh, yes. In fact, I think he will not say that because he had his opportunity, that very elaborate report, 446 pages. So he's got to stick with the report. He can't have a latter-day inspiration. And so in terms of the president has the authority to direct Robert Mueller, through Bill Barr, not to testify. But I doubt that that's going to happen. I don't think that the president's going to cross his own attorney general, who I think has been doing a great job under this unremitting criticism. But in terms of Bob Mueller, he's got to stay with what he has written. Those 446 pages, the redactions, I've been through these, not the redactions, but I've seen where the redactions are. 10% of book one, which is the real book, that's on Russian collusion. There was no collusion. There were contacts, not collusion. But let's face it, the name of the game now is, do we impeach? This is what the House of Representatives is all about, and that has to be book two.
Let's put up a quote from a Washington Post piece on what Nancy Pelosi told Democrats on that behind closed doors. She said Trump had engaged in a type of behavior that prompted the move to impeach Nixon in 1974. This person has not only ignored subpoenas, he has said that he's not going to honor our subpoenas. What more do we want? She has sounded at times like she's against impeachment, at times like she thinks that there's no choice, Trey Gowdy. But clearly this is the political decision that they're trying to wrap their arms around.
Yeah, the reason I'm smiling, Martha, the Democrats in the D.C. media never met a subpoena for the first 6 years I was in Congress that they could embrace. The Obama administration routinely ignored requests for information, so God knows that can't be an impeachable offense. I didn't think Rod Rosenstein should be impeached. I didn't think John Koskinen should have been impeached. It is the political death penalty. So you need to be very careful when you use or how you authorize the use of what is tantamount to the political death penalty. Yeah. They're not going to succeed. The jury's not going to go along. This is about fundraising and placating your base.
You know, in terms of what you said earlier, Ken Starr, I want to ask you about, you said that Bob Mueller deserves the sharpest criticism for sandbagging Bill Barr. What did you mean by that?
Terrible. Well, his letter that was then leaked on the very eve of Bill Barr's testimony was essentially, I believe, an unfair, whiny complaint when he wasn't saying that the letter, the March 24th letter from Bill Barr that summarized the conclusions, which he was obliged to do. That wasn't just a discretionary call. Bill Barr was obliged under regulation to do exactly what it did. Then here comes Bob Mueller with this letter, which is then leaked. That is, to me, the unforgivable sin. Bob Mueller, badly injured this Attorney General, and the Attorney General didn't deserve that. But, of course, that created its own huge firestorm, including suggestions that the Attorney General was totally mischaracterizing the report and so forth. When you look at that March 24 letter, I think Bill Barr was honestly trying to do the right thing and to do it in the right way.
Ken Starr and Trey Gowdy, thank you, gentlemen. Great to see you tonight. Thank you so much for being here.
Meantime, House Democrats have put Attorney General Bill Barr on the clock again. They have scheduled a vote for Wednesday on a resolution to hold Barr in contempt over his refusal to release an unredacted version of the Mueller report. This comes as lawmakers try to firm up testimony from Robert Mueller himself. Here's Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge.
This 27-page report from House Democrats lays out their legal and political roadmap to hold the Attorney General William Barr in contempt over what they say is a lack of access to the full special counsel report and underlying evidence. Chairman Jerry Nadler said the obstruction case is strong, and his investigators need everything to decide on next steps. The Justice Department has released a more complete version of the report to key lawmakers, including Nadler. In a statement, DOJ officials called out the Democratic chairman for, quote, refusing even to read the minimally redacted version and imposing novel and unreasonable terms on the Attorney General's offer to testify before the committee. On Fox, a former independent counsel said Barr's hands are tied on a key Democratic request.
He can't hand over grand jury material because he'd be in violation of the criminal law if he did that. They're asking him to commit a federal crime.
The same committee wants the special counsel Robert Mueller to testify May 15th.
We never have an absolute guarantee. The White House has so far indicated they would not interfere with Mr. Mueller's attempts to testify. We hope that won't change.
On Twitter, the president said the investigation was exhaustive and, quote, Bob Mueller should not testify. No redos for the Dems.
I think it is amazing to me here how quickly the Democrats want to go down a path that they know they can't go on, simply to have press releases, simply to tar and sort of throw dirt at a president that they don't like.
All this as the president's former personal attorney begins his 3-year federal prison sentence for charges that stem from the special counsel's investigation.
I hope that when I rejoin my family and friends, that the country will be in a place without xenophobia, injustice, and lies at the helm of our country. There still remains much to be told, and I look forward to the day that I can share the truth.
A group called Protect Democracy, whose members include high-profile former Obama administration officials, posted an online statement with apparently hundreds of former prosecutors and Justice Department officials who served under Democratic and Republican administrations, saying Mr. Trump would have been prosecuted for obstruction were he not president. The website says they have vetted the list to the best of their ability, Brett.
Captain, thank you.